So today I'll be doing a video discussing Fairy Tail 2020 episode 1 and why you guys need to be excited for the first episode of Fairy Tail 2020 in the newest season, because if you guys do not know, it is now 2020 and Fairy Tail, it is going to be getting an anime this year most likely. So I had to do a video discussing episode 1 because when I tell you guys it's going to be more monumental and possibly bigger than the first episode of the first series, yeah, Fairy Tail 2020 episode 1, it might just be the greatest first episode ever because of all the hypeness they're going to add to the Fairy Tail story. And in case you guys didn't already, make sure you guys have notifications on because it's going to get wild. I'm going to be posting a lot more Fairy Tail 2020 content, Fairy Tail 100 request news on this channel. So if you guys do want that Fairy Tail news, all that update, make sure you guys have your notifications on. But without further ado, we have to discuss the hypest moments of the first episode of 2020, because like I said, this episode will be one of the most biggest ones because like I said, the pacing for Fairy Tail 100 Request is incredible. I mean, me personally, I do enjoy fast-paced series. That's why I've been enjoying Fairy Tail 100 Request, and plus since it is monthly, Hiro Mashima and Atsuo Ada, they did not drop the ball when it did come to producing these chapters. Now, we do know that the number one thing that we're going to see from episode 1 will be Natsu's new form. Yes, Natsu, in case you guys ever live underneath the rock, Natsu has a new form that surpasses END. Now, this is crazy to think because END, we already saw how strong END was. He was clearly the strongest character in the series when he was using that form. Now, we did get END short-lived and we really did get to see Natsu go too much into that mode, but Natsu's new dragon form that's incoming will 10 billion% be stronger than his END form. Yes, Natsu's new dragon form that he's developing is 100% stronger than END, and this is crazy to think because we've seen what END was able to do. Hell, he was made basically to defeat Zera, somebody who was immortal. So the fact that Natsu has already gone past that alone should get you guys hyped, because Natsu, when I tell you that he's becoming super overpowered, yeah, it's getting to a point where I'm starting to think he might be a little bit stronger than Goku. But Natsu's dragon form was actually foreshadowed in Fairy Tail Dragon Cry, because in case you guys were living underneath the rock and didn't know, Fairy Tail Dragon Cry is 100% canon. Yes, that movie is 100% canon, and that was confirmed with Fairy Tail 2020 episode 1 because of the 5th generation Dragon Slayers. I will discuss that later on, but we do know that Kyra, one of the 5th generation Dragon Slayers, she confirmed the whereabouts of the 4th generation Dragon Slayers, and obviously they were in Fairy Tail Dragon Cry, so that just goes to show you that it was canon. And if you guys are a true fan, you guys will know that when the Dragon Slayers were being shown in the anime for their final fight versus Actologia, they threw a little subtle hit in there for Sonya, but that's either here or there. Let's get back into the video. So in all seriousness, we do know that Natsu, his dragon transformation, it was foreshadowed in Dragon Cry, and we did see that it wasn't a full dragon transformation. I honestly think that was for the Fairy Tail 2020 series because Hiro Mashima, obviously, he and Crunchyroll, they know that they have some huge news planned. So I think that's why he did the half dragon Natsu transformation, just to give us a little spooky insight on what Natsu could be in his dragon form, because we saw what he was able to do in the Fairy Tail Dragon Cry movie when he only had half of it, and now we're starting to see how strong Natsu's becoming when he trains with the dragon god. Yes, all I'm going to say is that there are dragon gods and Natsu is trading with one, and that is actually how he's going to get his new form, in case you guys did not know. So Natsu's new form, the one that will be revealed most likely in episode 1, because it leaves off on a spooky cliffhanger. If you're a manga reader, you know exactly what I'm talking about, him almost burning everybody up. But Natsu's new form will definitely be the highlight of Fairy Tail 2020. And speaking of Natsu, we gotta discuss his potential new relationship. And I know all the Nalu people, they're just gonna want to dislike it, everything, but pause, just wait, because it looks like that Natsu X Lucy might actually become canon. Yes, we do know that it wasn't necessarily confirmed by the end of Fairy Tail, and that made a lot of people start thinking, were they gonna actually get together? But it is 100% being confirmed in Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest. So if you are a Nalu supporter, get excited because Hiro Mashima has been dropping a lot of hints, basically confirming Natsu x Lucy going to happen by the end of Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it did happen midway through the series and we actually got the relationship to get confirmed, you know, maybe 100 chapters in, because Hiro Mashima, he has been developing the relationships a lot, and I'm going to talk about that later on. But the reason why I did bring up the new relationship was because Toka may fall for Natsu. And if you guys don't know who Toka is, basically she's Lisana's replacement. Let me put it like that, because Natsu x Lisana is no more. In fact, Lisana herself actually made a joke when Juvia was saying, oh, Natsu has a lot of love rivals, and she included Lisana in there. Lisana herself knew she did not even belong in there. But no, in all seriousness, we do know that it has been replaced by Natsu x Toka. I mean, the white hair, everything about it. But this still does mean that Natsu x Lucy will happen. But in the end, I do think that Hiro Mashima, seeing how the story is played out, once Natsu actually does rescue her again, I think that's when Toka will fall in love with Natsu, because we saw how easily she fell in love with Happy over something that really wasn't even something his doing. I mean, technically Happy did have a huge role in it, but we do know that Natsu was the one that saved her. So I do think that Hiro Mashima is using Toka as a new love rival, possibly somebody to show that Lucy actually does like Natsu, because throughout the series it's always been kind of like Natsu giving the hints that he likes Lucy, but maybe with Toka's introduction she'll finally start showing that she does like Natsu even more. So Natsu's new relationship with Toka may actually end up helping his relationship with Lucy. So if you are a Natsu x Lucy fan, get excited, because Natsu, not only does he have a new love rival, but it looks like that Natsu x Lucy might actually happen within Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest before it's finished. And speaking of relationships, I have to discuss the new relationships that have been revealed, because Gray finally confirms his love for Juvia. We gotta give a round of applause to Gray, because if you guys are real Fairy Tail fans, you would know he didn't confess his love for anything. In fact, we even seen at the end of the series, or near the end of the series, because technically it was the final war, we seen Gray, he told Juvia that he was going to give her the answer, but we never seen him do it on screen. But in this new Fairy Tail series, we actually see Gray begin opening up more to Juvia. In fact, there's a scene where they start talking about partners, and Gray basically just thinks about Juvia at that point. So we do know that Gray, he is finally showing Juvia that's not just a one-sided relationship, but possibly the biggest relationship in Fairy Tail's Urza and Jalal, and that has become way more confirmed, because I will definitely say that for Fairy Tail 2020, this is the relationship that does get highlighted the most, simply because we're starting to see Urza and Jalal actually become a little bit more intimate, and we do know they're starting to reveal their feelings for each other. Obviously, Jalal is being involved in the story more, which shout out to Jalal, because he's always been one of my favorite characters. He got a fight with Acton Logie at the end of the series, but we do know that Urza and Jalal, Jerza, if you're a huge Jerza fan, get excited, because Hiro Mashima was teasing earlier on in Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest that they may not get together, but now I definitely do think that Urza and Jalal, they are definitely going to be one of the couples that do end up. But speaking of couples that do end up, I know I sound like a broken record at this point, but Gajio and Levi, they are official. Like, we see Gajio, he got Levi pregnant, to a point where this is foreshadowing for Fairy Tail Next Generation. Yes, this is another reason why Fairy Tail 2020 is going to be epic, because we do know that it's already setting up for the next generation with Gajio and Levi. And I like the fact that they're doing it with, I don't want to say a couple that's not really shown, because Gajio and Levi, they're obviously main characters, but I like how they're doing it with a couple that's not really, you know, always there, like a Natsu x Lucy, Gray and Juvia. So the fact that Gajio and Levi are basically pushing for the next generation is super exciting. And we actually even see Happy, he might even get himself a new lover too, because if Carla doesn't straighten up, she might actually fall for the new Exceed version of Toka. Now, obviously that would be a huge move by Hiro Mashima, but I do think that Hiro Mashima, he's going to continue to keep on introducing new couples like Laxus x Kyra. We see the 5th generation Dragon Slayer, she ends up falling for Laxus, and I do think he's going to continue to keep on develop them at the quick pace that he has been doing. And last but not least, we gotta discuss the newest villains, because these villains are looking a little bit more hyper than the fairy tale ones. Yeah, the original fairy tale villains are nothing compared to the next third to the 100-year quest ones, because we see Toka the White Mage. She's easily on par with Zeref in terms of power. And speaking of power, I already know I gotta redo that power scaling video because of all the recent stuff that came out with Wendy, Irene, all that greatness. But no, in all seriousness, we do know that the new villains like Toka the White Mage, once they are introduced, they do set a whole new scale for power. And just because Toka, she will be the first big villain of Fairy Tail 2020, so you guys definitely need to know everything about the White Mage. But the 5th generation Dragon Slayers, they look like they are a guild full of evil people. Now, there are going to be probably like 1 or 2 who's not bad, but the 5th generation Dragon Slayers will be some of the biggest villains in all of Fairy Tail history. But possibly the biggest plot twist of all time for Fairy Tail will be Syria, because I believe that Syria will be the final villain for Fairy Tail. Yes, the person who sent Natsu and everybody on the 100-year quest, I believe that is going to be the final villain for Fairy Tail, simply because he's already foreshadowed himself being similar to Logia. We don't know why he wants the 5 dragon gods dead. We don't know why he wants them defeated, but I do think that Syria is definitely hiding something. You know, makes for a spooky plot twist with the Fairy Tail 2020 episode 1. But overall, are you guys excited for the first episode of Fairy Tail 2020? If you're not, can you even call yourself a true Fairy Tail fan? Comment what you guys see down below. Subscribe if you haven't. Peace out.